welcome everybody to the 5th episode of the In the Clutch podcast. I'm your host, Cody Roskins. Alongside me, my co-host, Jonathan Michael. And joining us are two very special guests from the Mid-Illini Conference. First, from the Metamora Redbirds, quarterback Kaden Hartnett.
Yes.
And also from the Pekin Dragons, quarterback Scotty.
How's it going?
Well, guys, I'll just go ahead and kick it off. How you guys' day's been? It's been, pretty nice Monday, or I guess Tuesday now. This is one, it's the day of the week it's going to get recorded on, but how's you guys' days been?
Been pretty good. Nice, good day at school, and then had a good practice today.
Yeah, it went pretty good. Nice to finally get the temps down outside. Just kind of feeling like football weather, so going good.
Yeah, my day's been pretty good. Loving this nice weather. Just got back from Coyote Creek Golf Course, scouting out some potential golf broadcasting opportunities we'll have possibly this coming Monday on CSM. So stay tuned for that. We may be there. We hope we'll be there. It's a good tradition we have going. So hoping to continue it for year 3.
Absolutely. Well, guys, again, can't thank you two enough for joining us here on the In the Clutch podcast. I'll start out with asking, obviously you two play each other this Friday. We're not going to delve too much into the game since you guys are obviously playing in it. But, how you guys' the season's been to this point. We'll start with you first, Cade, and then go to Scotty. But obviously you guys have had very successful seasons to this point. You two, playing for two very successful programs. What's kind of that feeling?
Yeah, it feels great. That weird start with the first game of the season kind of knocked us off where we wanted to start the season, but got that one with the style, and then another loss to Washington. I think that kind of didn't go over very well with a lot of us. So we felt like we had something to prove after that game. So after that, I feel like the whole team's refocused. So it's been good since then.
We've been pretty good. Started the season off how we wanted against Rock Island, and then I feel like sometimes we're getting off focus and everything with the wins and everything like that, but for the most part, we're staying focused, and we just need to focus on what we need to do.
Yeah, and I know Jonathan and I, we've bounced around a couple of games. I haven't seen Metamora yet, but I've seen Pekin play before. John, both teams were a lot of fun to watch, and these two are no exception.
Yeah, definitely. I was still impressed. Obviously the one time I saw Metamora was against Washington, but I was still impressed with how the team looked. And Kaden, just kind of want to ask you. I know the season's been kind of crazy. The last 2 weeks. You've just seemed like you've always. I know we've. Kind of established that you've always been one of the top players in the area. But what's kind of clicked for you the last couple of 2 weeks?
Yeah, just going back to that Washington loss, I kind of took that a little bit personal. It's never fun losing to Washington, so kind of had to refocus, regroup the guys, and feel like I had something to prove after that game. So ever since then, I've just been playing the game, letting the game come to me. So it's been good.
Yeah, and I'll flip it over. Go ahead, John.
Oh no! Oh, go ahead. No, and then obviously I was going to ask.
We're just too nice around here.
Scotty, I saw you guys, week 1 against Rock Island, and I know we've broadcast you guys a couple of times since, although that was the only time that I was there, but I know you guys have been in some close games against, both Dunlap and, Morton as well. You hung on both times, for some really big wins, so I guess maybe just kind of like, what's your guys' key been, to perform well in those close games, because you guys, obviously, week 1 you won big, but, the last 2 weeks have been, a little bit closer, so kind of been helping you guys, pull out those close games.
It's really just about trusting the other side of the ball when the other side's on the field. The defense trusting the offense when they need to, and the offense trusting the defense. Really a big key to it.
Definitely.
Yeah. I'll take the next one, I guess. And obviously you two are the signal callers on your team. A lot of times the quarterbacks look to lead. What's kind of the mentality for your guys' teams? Again, obviously you guys play in one of the more wild football conferences year in and year out. It seems like there's 3 or 4 teams any given year that could win the conference. What's that kind of like? Staying level-headed. Obviously you two are two very even keel guys, but have old, really high competitive motors.
Yeah, just knowing you guys being a play caller, like you said, you got a lot of guys looking up to you. So bad play goes bad, you just got to keep your head up. Next play, guys are always going to look to you for advice. So, like I said, bad play, you got to keep your head up. Next play, mentality. So, control what you control.
Following that, it really is just about helping everybody else. You see somebody get a holding call or a pass interference. It's all about keeping their head up and focused on the next plays.
Go ahead, John.
So I was going to ask you guys, So you guys are playing for two middle line teams. Obviously, they both have a lot of great tradition. I want to ask you guys possibly since you. I don't know if either of you guys, grew up here, how long you've been in the Pure area, but if you guys had, played against each other for, obviously, I'm sure you guys played against each other in, JV, did it go back even further than that? Just kind of want to know, what some of your best memories have been, playing football at least up to this point, and, I don't know if you guys have, squared off before, at least not in the, not in high school.
Yeah, I remember playing him freshman year. I don't know we might have played each other sooner in JFL. I don't remember. I didn't really know a lot of guys then. Once you get to high school, you kind of learn about everybody's names and everything.
Yeah.
So I remember going back early years of high school, we always played against each other. So
Yeah, like you were saying, JFL, you really don't know who's on the other team. It's just you're out there playing. But I remember we squared off a little bit sophomore year. I did throw a pick to Kaden, did pick me off. So we definitely went at it a little bit.
There you go. I'll just kind of take over for the next one as well. But talking about maybe not so much about football, but you guys still have some time before you walk out the doors for graduation. What are kind of the life plans after that? What are you guys kind of hoping to do one day, whether it's with football, without football? What's kind of the next steps for you guys after we don't necessarily get to see you every Friday?
Yeah, definitely want to continue playing football in college. Undecided where I want to go now, but hoping to either teach and coach or something in the sports medicine field. So kind of looking to go to a 4-year university after this. So yeah.
I'm looking to go. I'm try to get a school with a good engineering program. That's what I want to do, kind of after college and everything. But definitely still want to be playing football. And I kind of have an idea on where I'm going. Been talking to Illinois college coach a little bit, D3, but still just love the program there.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are, like I said, as far as quarterback goes in here, you guys are about as, solid as they come, and I'm sure you guys won't have any problem settling into kind of whatever your niche is in life, and obviously we'll always wish you guys the best, even after, we're done covering you. But, John, if you've got a few more, we'll go ahead and rattle them off.
Yeah, sure. I just want to, ask, kind of, again, going back to, this Friday's game, what do you guys, I guess, maybe most looking forward to?
Yeah, the atmosphere at Pekin, is always good. The Fire Pit Nation, they're always one of the top student sections, so I'm looking forward to the atmosphere. It should be a good game. A lot of respect for Pekin and the football team. They got dudes everywhere, so it's looking up to it's going to be a good challenge for us, see what we can do. So, yeah, it's just going to be a fun game all around.
Yeah, falling on Caden, it really is going to be a good game because they've been rolling these past 2 weeks, putting up a lot of points, and Caden's been having himself some games. We hear all about it from our coach. He's been saying a lot of stuff about how we got to watch Caden because he's been blasting off these last couple weeks, but it's always a good game playing Metamora because we know it's going to be a battle to the end.
Gotcha. And then I have one more question. It's kind of more of a fun question, but kind of ask you guys since you're both quarterbacks. If you were to pick an NFL wide receiver for you guys that could come back to high school for one game and join your guys' team, who would you guys pick and why? If you have a reason why.
I'd probably say Justin Jefferson. Just watching him the past 2 years in the NFL has been pretty fun, and then he's just took the league by notice his first 2 years, so it's been fun to watch him.
I
like him as well.
I say personally, I'd have to go with Tyreek Hill, even though he's a little bit of a slower guy. I'd like to open it up a little bit, throw the ball a little bit deeper.
No, I think those are two really good picks, and I guess my last question here coming. Obviously, you guys. This is more tailored to, I guess, your teams, but both of you are blessed with really nice skill position players. Obviously, Caden, you've got a plethora of running backs and a really good offensive line. And Scotty, on your end, obviously, you've got maybe two of the best running backs in the area. Sprecher, Tyler, he plays a little bit of wide receiver too, but you guys also have two of the best defenses. What's that, kind of like, having a complete team that really just rallies around each other, helps you out, you help them out? What's that kind of like?
Yeah, it's nice knowing once you come off the field, the offense, you might have a bad series or turnover or something. You got a pretty good defense behind you going out there, hoping to get the ball back within 4 downs. So it's nice to be able to trust those guys. Like you said, having the two running backs behind me with Cam Davis and Mark Frederick. I feel like all three of us have a chance to break off a big play at any time. So just trusting each one of your guys and knowing they'll get the job done.
Yeah, it really helps having Kanye and Tanner back there. The ground and pound, and then we got the speedster back there with Kanye, and it really helps me out a lot. Takes pressure off of me. But having the defense out there, I really do trust my defense. As I see it, my defense, it's like I trust everybody on there. Don't have any holes out there that I really got to worry about.
Absolutely, John. I'll throw it back to you if you've got any last-minute questions. If not, we'll let them get back to their busy day. Obviously, you guys just got a bunch of schoolwork, I'm sure, to get back to, right? Wink, wink. But, yeah, I'll give it back to you, John.
Yeah, I pretty much didn't really have much else to say. Didn't have any other questions for the moment, but, I'm really looking forward to, being there in Pekin on Friday. It should be a great game. And also just, obviously thanks for, coming on to the podcast. It's always, fun when we have, players and, getting to incorporate those guys as well. And, I remember we had, we had some people in an Instagram comments saying like, hey, get Kaden Hartnett on the pod. And then, obviously, you had a great game last week, and then, we're going to be, broadcasting you guys against Pekin this week. So, and then obviously we want to get, someone from Pekin as well, given the season that you guys are having as well, Scotty. So, thank you guys, just again for joining the pod, and, see you guys Friday. It should be a great game.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, not a problem, guys.
See ya.
Yeah.
All right, those are two of the classiest players I think I've ever talked to off the football field. John, I don't know about you, but those guys,
Dude.
just every time they're always the nicest. I mean, it doesn't matter if they're playing each other or not. Those are just two of the nicest players that we've met. I'm sure they're a little, different tempered on the field when it comes, again, to high competitive motors, but that's going to be so much fun Friday.
Oh, no, dude, I honestly can't wait. And, obviously talk about like, just how like high class these guys are. I mean, and we saw that even again when we I think it was episode 3 when we brought Gabriel Ziegler-Harris on. He was also super great as well. So just all the athletes that we've been able to bring on here. I mean, obviously we're hoping to bring on more here in the coming weeks, but that's always a great time being able to get like a player's perspective and other people's perspectives as well. So obviously super fun to see Kaden and Scotty ball out on Friday night.
Absolutely. Well, we'll kind of go ahead and get back to format here. About 10 minutes worth of the interviews. I mean, that was solid stuff, but we're going to go ahead and get back on schedule. Jonathan, we've got some games from last week, which I was not a part of. I was on the bench last week, but you participated in for our CSM Games of the Week last week. You were at East Peoria going to Dunlap, and then Pekin and Morton did battle. It was a close game. East Peoria, you were there. Kind of break down what happened there with East Peoria and Dunlap.
Yeah, I mean, Dunlap really flexed their muscles on both sides of the ball. Obviously the talk of the, big talk before the game was Gabriel Ziegler-Harris for East Peoria, who is, by all intents and purposes, a very large chunk of their offense. And the Dunlap front seven just, came absolutely ready for that. Obviously we didn't have official stats in front of us there, but I was reading the Peoria Journal-Star that the Raiders had, I think, negative 1 yards of offense, by halftime, which, I think was just, given the way that game was going, it was more of a testament to Dunlap's defense rather than EP's offense. I mean, the Raiders were able to, to get some good plays with Ziegler-Harris. They couldn't really, quite get the passing game, kind of humming, I guess, maybe as you normally would like. But, Dunlap's, secondary, really, really good. They had Ryan Dietz, Graham Glover making plays. And then obviously the front seven shut down Ziegler-Harris. But, on the offensive end, Dunlap was, equally as impressive, if not more. We talk about, Pekin and some of these other middle-line teams having very diverse offenses where they can really spread the ball around, have a lot of playmakers. And I think you got to throw Dunlap in that conversation because, Madden Burke in his first game back from injury looked really, really good. He was just humming all night long, and he actually, sat most of the second half. And Johnny Bargan, Max Sutter came in. They're two backups who also looked really well in Friday's game as well. But they have Braden Orr in the backfield. He had 2 touchdowns. Actually, I think 3 now that I think about it. Braden Orr Graham Glover, excuse me. So many playmakers I'm losing track of,
I mean,
who they all
everywhere.
are, but. Yeah, but Glover had a real nice game as well. Burke has just an amazing arm. I think his first touchdown pass to Graham Glover was just like watching poetry in motion. So, Dunlap's a team that they've really handled business the last 2 weeks, and they're starting to maybe not like again I don't know if they're peaking yet, but they're starting to kind of go move up. Certainly buy stock now. If you're looking at Dunlap because that team looks really really good going forward.
Yeah, and out of the last 2 games, this is a stat you just can't argue with. They're outscoring opponents 90-0 through the last 8 quarters, 41 to zip, and then 49 to zip. And they play, I believe it's their 3 next opponents are sub 500, and so it's not necessarily gimme wins, but it's wins that with their offense and their defense that they pack every week. Those are definitely games you could see them winning. And down the stretch, who knows? Dunlap might be in there for a position to claim the Mid-Illini title or a co-share of it. And as we kind of talk now, neither of us were at Pekin Morton, but that game was kind of what we thought last week, right? We knew the weather was going to be a little inclement. They were going to stick more to the ground game, and both defenses showed up kind of like we did. Kind of like we thought they would. And the line play was really even, and that's really why it was a 14-7 game. I think it was the final, and you really didn't have a runaway team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously the weather played a factor with the final score being 14-7, but it was another game where where Pekin really showed how good their defense could be, because Morton's offense, even without Seth Glass this year, has been really, really just playing real well, and Carl Whitaker, Brett Michael, Jude Hart have all been doing real well for the Potters this year. It's kind of a three-headed monster in their backfield. They have a couple other guys that can carry the ball nicely as well. And Morton's defense also very strong. I remember talking with Tim Briley before the season. I haven't seen the Potters since then, so obviously I haven't been able to actually see them play this year. But he said that Morton's front seven and their defense could end up being real big this year. I know they have a very strong secondary as well, and Pekin's defense, I saw them week 1, and holding Rock Island to 20 points is no small feat. The Rocks are a very good offensive team, and Pekin's continue to show it week in and week out. I mean, Braden Beckham was phenomenal, at least when I saw him in week 1 on the defensive line. So looking for another big game for him this week, and a couple other guys like on Pekin, like Shalon Hannigan, Connor Drowns as well, can really step up for the Dragons. Kanye Tyler is people kind of forget that he may almost be as good as a free safety as
exactly on that back end of that defense. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that's a huge credit, and I think you're right, John. That's not what enough people are talking about, because he's not just a one-way player that gets the ball. He's a two-way player in the truest sense of the word. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. I'm obviously super looking forward to seeing Kanye Tyler on Friday again. Obviously, it'll also be interesting to see where they line him up, because in week 1 they kind of line him up as kind of like a decoy out on the edge, kind of a wide receiver. Didn't really record a ton of catches. They set him in motion sometimes in the backfield, kind of did like an end around, whatever. But but credit Pekin for trying to get some different looks, rather than lining just Tyler up in the backfield and just giving it straight to him. They're finding creative ways to incorporate him into the offense. And how about the year Tanner Sprucker's having as well? I mean, last year he was kind of maybe the number 2 back. I think a lot of people thought that Tyler's like clear cut number 1, Sprucker clear cut number 2, but
it's
I
think 1 and 1A right now.
1A and 1B right now, I think, because they're both getting fairly equal amounts of carries or so per game, which is very nice as well, and a luxury to have for Pekin as the playoffs come up, because you obviously want both those guys to be healthy. Obviously, the Dragons can still get it done without question if one of those backs were to go down. But keeping those guys under 20, 25 carries or so a game is going to go a long way in their success in the postseason.
Yeah, and right before Gavin hops on here, we'll go ahead and run through our 3 words or less. John, your 3 words or less for this week.
Yeah, so my 3 words or less for the week are score, score, score. So could have been 1 word, decided to make it 3, but it's got to be important that you got to score points, because looking at scores from around the area in week 5, a lot of big numbers being put up. We saw Washington put up 49. We saw Dunlap put up 49. Peoria High put up 64. Macomb, I know it's a team that we don't really cover that that much. It's hour and a half away from Peoria, but they put up 58 on Farmington.
Which does not happen very often. That Farmington program is about as strong as it comes for the small schools.
Yeah, exactly. I was just blown away when I found out how much the Bombers put up on Farmington. So credit to them. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs. But I think one thing we saw in week 5 is that if your team is going to succeed coming down the stretch, you got to put up a lot of points. Obviously, you're going to have your shootout games. The Mid-Illini, you'll probably see the most of those. It's probably where, most of those will come from. But, but with how good the defenses are in the Mid-Illini, if you score, 35 points or so in the Mid-Illini, that's a pretty good chance you're going to win a football game. You don't see a lot of, 49-35 or,
it's usually a Big 12 scoreline.
Similar scores like in the Mid-Illini. But, I think just the mantra right now is, you have 5 weeks, under your belt. You're over halfway through the season now. You really want to get your offense going. Really, I think every head coach around the area is going to hope that their offense is clicking by this point in time. And and if it is, you'll be able to put up those big points. Keep on scoring and lead to a lot of wins. Because I think right now I think it's just all offense.
Yeah, and I'm kind of keeping with a similar theme, I guess, but not really. It might be a little bit more of a stretch now I'm thinking about it. But I'm just sticking with where'd we go here? Sorry, I lost my place. Foot race finish. That's what it was. We didn't lose it. We found it. Foot race finish. And this is talking about the Big 12 because I was looking at the Big 12 standings today. And I was kind of caught off guard. There are 3 teams right now that are undefeated in the conference, right? And that's because they have all amount of different games played. It's Champaign, Normal Community, Peoria High. 5-0, 4-0, 3-0. But then there's 3 teams that are 2-2, and even a 4th team that is 2-3. So down the stretch here in the next 3 or 4 weeks, there's going to be a clear-cut, tiebreaker weekend where there's going to be probably 2 teams, whether it's Champaign, Centennial, or it's Normal Community, or Peoria High, or PND, coming down the stretch here where it's going to be, you can't win a conference in the, in the first, 5 weeks or so, but you can definitely lose it. I think the Big 12's this is the weekend where that stretch starts because the next 3 or 4 weeks sets you up for that last pivotal week to clinch the conference. And I don't know how you see it, but that is going to be an electric conference to watch coming down the stretch.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the Big 12 is obviously so much more fun. I know when you have lots of teams, and honestly, any conference is more fun. I don't even know what I'm saying. Any conference is more fun when you have more people vying for the conference title. But obviously, Peoria High and Normal West. That game is still over 2 weeks away. I am still just, I have my eyes locked on that game. I know we're talking about, hoping to be able to get in the building to do that game. But I think that game, could end up deciding the conference championship. But don't forget about Centennial. That's the team that, went 5-4 last year, pulled off a big upset in the IHSA playoffs. And they have an interesting end to the schedule as well. They play Bloomington this week. For week 6, and Bloomington's always a candidate to pull off an upset. And then they have P&D away as well, and then they'll have their 3rd away game in a row. So the Chargers will be road tested, and they play Collinsville, a independent school in week 8. I think Collinsville right now is 4-1, so that won't be a pushover game.
No pushover.
And then if the conference still hasn't been decided by then, week 9 Centennial plays guess who? Normal West. So weeks 8 and 9 in the Big 12 are going to be insane. I can't wait for it. But also don't forget about the other teams as well because Normal Community is really in there as well. Danville has a advantageous schedule as well. So I don't know if, obviously I think those teams would have to pull off a big upset to get in the mix. But certainly keep an eye on the Ironmen and the Vikings as well as we approach playoff time here in a couple weeks.
And as I'm sure everybody saw, Gavin Russell joins us. Didn't quite make it in time. He had a prior commitment before the start of the episode, but we're grateful that he's able to join. Gavin, we just wrapped up our 3 words or less, so we're jumping into our game previews for this week, which, as I'm sure everybody guessed by our 2 quarterback guests at the start of the show, our video broadcast will be the Redbirds and the Dragons. Jonathan, break that game down for us. Gavin, give us your 2 cents. This game is probably going to be everything that it's built up to be.
Yeah, I think, Metamora is, coming in real hot, which is obviously really, it's got to feel really good for them, especially, given how, last season went for them. They had all the momentum in the world. They were 5-0, dropped their last 5. So, and obviously it was kind of tough to establish momentum this year because, their, week 1 game against Peoria High got cut short. They had a good week 2 win against LaSalle Peru. Week 3, they went back down again, lost to Washington, which obviously, as Kaden said, none of those Redbird players are going to take that very lightly. But they're kind of on the upswing now, obviously, with 2 straight wins and the opportunity to get a massive 3rd win in a row against Pekin. One thing that I'm definitely looking at, for Metamora is, is obviously their health. I know one of their wide receivers, Broderick Shares, went down with an injury in the last week's game. So I know that he'll be out for this game. However, there is some optimism that he will be back for the end of the regular season. And then also Mark Frederick, their sophomore running back, who was a huge part in their Washington game. I heard he tweaked his ankle, or he tweaked something a little bit, is what I heard. But definitely keep an eye to see if he'll be active for Friday as well, because Cameron Davis, obviously, I think is their headliner back, but it always is good to have other help in your backfield. And like I saw in week 3, Mark Frederick, a very good running back as well. So definitely something to watch. But I think the Redbirds will go as Kaden Hartnett goes, but they also have they also have some other options as well offensively, as well as Ben Wallace on the offensive line going up against a good Pekin D line. So it's going to be a good battle in the trenches as well in that game.
Yeah, that's going to be a really exciting game. It's definitely one that probably has continued to grow in excitement and things as we've seen Metamora just continue to get better throughout these last couple weeks. Of course, they had a rough end to last season. They had a slow start to this year, but again, they've kind of found their groove, and we did expect the Redbirds to do so. Pekin's red hot. They seem to be a different animal when they play at home, so we got to factor that in. Pekin on the road has been very close to losing a couple times, going to Dunlap, playing against Morton. Those are a couple near losses for Pekin. They were able to pull it out. That shows a lot of veteran leadership and things to kind of grind it out. But when they're playing at home, whatever it is, the crowd behind them, the student section, whatever it is, they are just a different beast. And so I'd expect Pekin to try to put a big show for the home crowd. But again, Metamora has more than enough to come in and try to do some damage. Kaden Hartnett's been absolutely fantastic. You mentioned Frederick. There's a lot of kind of sleeper players on Metamora, maybe guys we're not talking about. It's because they're a well-disciplined team, very well coached. So up and down that roster, you're going to find guys that are going to be able to make impacts in just the little areas. I would expect that to be a pretty close game. I don't expect this to be a runaway by any amount. I can't really say I have a prediction on the winner of that game, and I don't wish to make a prediction because I don't need everybody coming at me with the pitchforks and the torches on Twitter. But that game's going to be close one way or another, and I think it's going to be an exciting one to watch. You're not going to want to miss it.
Yeah, and then again, moving down now, obviously our radio broadcast for this upcoming week, Canton and Dunlap. Maybe a game that's kind of floating under the radar a little bit. John, we touched on Dunlap at the start, but Canton, when they get that ground game going, they can beat anybody. But same for Dunlap. I mean, they're again 90-0 in their last 8 quarters of football. That defense is showing up and the offense is executing, and right now they're rolling.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously I haven't seen Canton so far this year, but this is probably not an ideal time for Canton to face Dunlap. However, like they always say, the ground game always travels, and and thankfully the Little Giants have some great running backs in LaShawn Wallace and Joe Norton. Caleb Barnhart at quarterback can also make things happen with his legs as well. And Canton, I think, is a team that is obviously they've had a pretty tough schedule so far in the first 5 weeks, but Canton, as we kind of talked about in some previous podcasts, they're always a candidate to pull off an upset. So Canton, obviously a team to watch. But if Dunlap can kind of lock down on the run game just like they did with East Peoria, I think the Eagles will be in good shape. But I'll be really excited to see how Wallace and the rest of the Little Giants fare against the Eagles' very stout D.
Yeah, Dunlap definitely showed so much potential, and Burke seemed kind of back to his old self. I know he had a rough week against Pekin, his prior start before he got hurt, but Dunlap definitely has really good makings. The only thing they have to limit is the penalties. They gave East Peoria a lot of opportunities to capitalize on various penalties and various things that should have hurt Dunlap, and I would fully expect that coaching staff to look at that and be like, we should have been better. We dodged several major bullets there. We can't do that against teams like, Washington and Pekin, whatever, and that's where they've been hurt at times this year. You can't really even do that against a team like Canton. Canton's going to make you pay on quite a bit of those. So Dunlap's going to definitely have to do everything they can to limit those penalties. I mean, they're going to have some. That's just the nature of the game, but they have to have very, very few. And that's one big thing for Dunlap. Otherwise, they're going to absolutely roll with their offense. I mean, Graham Glover was really impressive. I hadn't really seen him play since last season. So he had definitely impressed me this week, or last week rather, against East Peoria. Burke looked good. The offense and defensive lines look good. The Eagles got a lot of star talent that I'm excited to see what they can do this week too.
Yeah, guys, now we'll enter our 2-minute drill, and we're going to have to stick to the 2-minute drill because Cody's against the clock right now to go make his 7 p.m. class. So we'll go ahead and fly through this. Gavin, quickly give us your game under the radar.
Yeah, I'm on the clock too. I've got a couple minutes here. But anyway, my game to watch is Danville at Community. That's a game maybe early in the year we would have thought Community would have been far upper hand there, but they're at 2-3. They faced a couple tough teams, Normal West, Peoria High. They find themselves at 2-3. Danville has definitely been a solid team this year. They're at 3-2. This game is going to go a long way, though, for both teams trying to make a playoff push. Not really in the conference race probably at this point, but both teams definitely need this win for momentum. They need it for a playoff push. This is just a big game for both teams because these are pretty evenly matched teams, in my opinion. If I had to pick a winner, I think Community is going to pull this one out at home. I do think it'll be a nail-biter. Again, I could totally see Danville winning this game. I do think it'll be close, and I think it's a game that a lot more people probably should be talking about. So I guess I'll make that my bold prediction of sorts. I guess I'll give you another bold prediction right before I have to hop off here. I'm going to say Kaden Hartnett's going to go for at least 150 total combined yards, both rushing and passing. So he's going to have at least 150, if not more. I would say that's my bold prediction there. But also Danville Community, that's all I got for you. I have to run very quickly here. So thank you for having me on.
All right. See you, Gav. Don't get in trouble at work. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys too.
See you, Gavin. Have a good one.
So again, thanks for Gavin hopping on. John, we'll go you quickly for your 2-minute drill. Game under the radar.
Sure, definitely, yeah. So my week 2 game week 6. I said week 2. Week 6 game under the radar. I have Farmington at Rushville Industry, and Farmington, kind of an uncharacteristic beatdown that they suffered last week at the hands of Macomb, who's looking really, really good. So I'm curious to see how Farmington responds because they're at 3-2 right now, and I'll have to double check on what the actual set is, but I can't in recent memory Farmington does not really lose 2 regular season games too often. So I'm curious to see how they respond. And Rushville Industry, a team that maybe probably a lot of Peoria high school football fans are probably not really too familiar with. It's a high school located a little south of Macomb, but they've been they have a tradition of success. At least in the last couple of years as well. They were very strong last year. And, back in 2021, this game, I think, probably was the number 1 and 2 teams in the conference were the Farmers and the Rockets. And then, obviously, this year, Elwood Brimfield's looking really good as well in that conference as well. But I think, whoever wins that game between Farmington and Rushville Industry, I think, will probably be, Elwood Brimfield's, best suitor, for the conference title. But Farmington, they'll look for a big bounce back, but they are one of the best small school teams in the area year in, year out, and I think they will do that here in week 6.
Yeah, and going to my game under the radar, I'm going EPG taking on Eureka. EPG's coming off their first loss this season. They're 4-1 against Ridgeview Lexington, and that's a game we've even got coming up on our next week's radar. Not necessarily anything set in stone, but that's a game that we're watching, and I think this game is just going to be electric. You got a team that's 5-0, a team that's 4-1. I almost feel like that's a weight off EPG's shoulders. Getting that first loss of the way, like all right, now we can go out and play. Obviously, everybody wants to be undefeated, but now you can just go out and play. You don't have to worry about it. Meanwhile, while Eureka has to go on the road to EPG into enemy territory, and Eureka's offense has been one of the best in the area, bar none, whether it's conference, class, anything in between. But I think, those two, when they get together, there's going to be a lot of yards and a lot of points.
Yeah, definitely. And, I think that's a, super interesting game because, EPG's defense has been really, really good this year. And so is Eureka's. They haven't allowed a touchdown, I believe, since may have been week 1. I know they were rolling on at least a 2 or 3 game wins or a shutout streak going into last week. They pitched another one this past week. So Eureka's defense, they're holding our opponents to nothing like for pretty much every game this year. So the EPG offense is going to have their hands full. Really looking forward to that game. But the El-Paso Grizzly, their defense is one of the more stout in the heart of Illinois as well. So they'll have their hands full as well trying to defend Eureka's offense. It has one of the best passing attacks around. So really looking forward to that game. Definitely don't cut out EPG. That's a team that is looking really good this year.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and jump into our bold predictions. Gavin already gave us his. Obviously, we'll replay that from the start of the clip. But, John, what's your bold prediction for this week?
Yeah, so, I don't know how really bold this is, especially given
it's more or less just a thing to watch. That's kind of the route I went to, and I think you did the same thing. It's not necessarily a bold take, but it's something just to watch.
Yeah, I think for some, I think it could be a bold prediction, but maybe not so much that given how much, given the defensive battle that Pekin and Morton had last week. But I think, Metamora and Pekin, I think that will be a defensive battle as well. Obviously you talk about, Pekin and, you automatically almost kind of associate them with, scoring, 35, 40, points, pretty much, every week almost, given their offense. And, Metamora obviously as well with how Hartnett's playing. The Redbirds put up a lot of points the last 2 weeks, but I think this one is really going to come down to the defense. It's going to come down to the trenches. Obviously, I don't know, what the final score was, or is going to be. But I think, it will be a lot like the Pekin Morton game where final score very, very well could be something like, 14-7 or 21-13 or maybe even 6-0. Who even knows? But I think it will be a very low scoring game. And both defenses, I think, will be up to the task this week. But, you can't count out Kaden Hartnett, Scotty Jordan, obviously our two guests earlier from the show, but they also it very well could also be a shootout as well. So looking for that game. I could be very, very wrong, but at least right now that's what I'm thinking is that it could be a defensive battle.
Yeah, and for my thing to watch, I guess, more or less for this week is I kind of went the same route. I went Eureka EPG, and we were just touching on how great Eureka's defense has been and EPG's defense has been and how they're both offenses are putting up points. But I'm going to say this one's going to be the prior, and it's going to be a defensive struggle as well. I said Eureka and EPG will combine for less than 400 yards between the two teams, and there's only going to be 2 touchdowns scored. There'll be more points than that. There'll be more points than that, but I think EPG at home after their first loss of the year, they're going to be looking around and be like, "All right, guys, they gave up 33 points I think the last week. I think total between the two teams it'll be 400 yards of offense, and I think there'll be 2 touchdowns scored. They could have some more field goals sprinkled in there. And again, going out on a limb probably going to be wrong on that one, but I don't know why, but I'm looking down at there. I'm like, EPG's going to bounce back a little bit, and Eureka's going to look at it and be like, yeah, we've got a really great offense too, and so I think it's just going to be a good game. And I think when it's all said and done, the defenses will show up more than the offenses.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, guys, that's officially the end of this podcast episode. A little bit of a time constraint. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Obviously, a big shout out once again to Scotty Jordan and Kaden Hartnett for joining us on the podcast this week. We'll see you guys in Friday action. Jonathan, you're going out, I believe, to Metamora Pekin. I'm going to be out to Canton Dunlap. So hopefully we'll see you guys out in the games. Have a good rest of your week.